Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Study in the UK. Ask us anything. We're here. We want your comments. We want your questions. My name is Mariana, and I'm here with my fantastic colleague, Mary. Mary, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Mary. I'm from the US, and I'm very happy to be here. Thanks so much, Mariana.
That's great. So we're gonna be answering all of your questions about what it's like to be an American student who comes to the UK. And don't forget, if you want to come and study in the UK, send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk or send us your details through okstudent.com/book a meeting. All right. So Mary, to start off with, how did you become an advisor at OK Student? How are you finding this experience, all of this?
So I started with OK Student back in January, and it was something I have been very interested in doing for a while, advising international students, especially in higher education. And I found the position through LinkedIn and connected very quickly with you, Mariana, and with the team. So it's been a really great experience so far. And I'm definitely enjoying working with both the team and talking to students.
That's perfect. So you started having meetings with students recently as well. And I remember you sent me a message immediately going like, oh, this reminded me of how much I like to talk to students. Would you say that that's a big motivation for you in doing this job?
Yes, definitely. It's so exciting. Like this week, I've been talking with quite a few different students from different places who all have different stories. And for me, I just love digging into the story and finding out what their interests are and how we can help them. So for me, it's a lot of fun.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we do here in the end. It's exactly making sure that we know the student really well and that we can advise them about the best university for them, the best course, and the best city. I'm really glad we have you on the team to make sure that that happens with every single one of our students.
Hey, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So I wanted to ask you as well, because I know you're not currently in the US, are you?
No, so I have been in Austria since 2017. I moved here in the fall, and I've been doing a range of work while here, and including working with students from young ages to adult learners, teaching English. And it's been something that I've really enjoyed, but also very challenging to be in a totally new and different place.
I can imagine, but it must be really rewarding as well to be able to teach students like that and teach them a new language.
Yes, definitely. And I'm lucky to be in a very international city here where my German is not so great, but there's a lot of students and I'm able to speak in English and communicate. And it's been a really great 3 years, also went by fast. And I'm definitely enjoying being outside of the US right now in my life.
That's great. And you're from California originally, is that right?
Yes, so I'm from Southern California. And I spent most of my life there until my mid-20s, and then a few years on the East Coast in New York City, and then back actually to California for 2 years, and then to Austria. So I've been moving around a little bit.
That's a lot. That's really fun. And especially because the US is so big that to a certain extent, it can just be considered different cultures in between like New York and Southern California, right?
Yes, they're very different places. I mean, I love New York, but it's definitely totally different than Southern California, where I'm from. And I don't know. I have great things to say about both places, and I love California. I love New York. I could see myself eventually going back, but right now I'm just happy trying new things and new adventures and being abroad.
That's great. And because you've been living in Austria now for 3 years, so how was it moving from the US to Austria? What was the biggest like cultural challenge there?
Yeah, I would say for me, I had spent the last few years of my life in big cities, so in Los Angeles and New York City, and then I moved to a city called Graz, and it's about 300,000 people. So it just immediately felt really small and cute. And the language has been really difficult, but it's something that I've adapted to and figured out my way. And I know my routine and how to, get around right now. So I would say that, I don't know, it's been exciting, but there are times that it's pretty challenging.
Yeah, I can imagine, especially because of the language is so different. A few weeks ago, I was talking to Lily about that, and she was talking about her Brazilian experience and how she really just didn't know any Portuguese on arrival. So it must be kind of a similar situation where and I've lived in Berlin for 6 months as well, and I felt that thing around the German and how important it is to have that language, even if you're in an international city.
Right, exactly. And I've taken some of the German classes, A1 and A2, but right now I'm on a break. And for students who are from the US, that's one thing moving to the UK you won't be struggling with, learning a new language. I think that would be a big benefit, to be able to move right away and easily just start communicating with people and make friends.
Exactly. So that's exactly what I was going to ask you right now, Mary. You're just on point. It's like, what are the main benefits? Why actually should an American student come and study in the UK?
Okay. So I would say the big one for me would be adventure. It's something that I'm always looking for, new experiences, meeting new people, like really getting outside of your bubble, and international experiences also are really invaluable. So for students coming from the US, this is a very no-brainer. You're going to get these experiences right away. But then if you dig deeper into it, there are other reasons why going to college or to university abroad in the UK could be really something that students don't think about, but a good idea overall. Something that we've spoken a lot about at OK Student is affordability. Students might not be aware of this, but going to university in the UK can actually be substantially cheaper for American students, especially students who decide to study outside of their home state or go to a private university in the US. And that's something that I was unaware of when I was applying for university. And something I was totally unaware of is that the FAFSA can actually count towards your studies as an American student in the UK. So students who are worried about financial, packages will still be able to use their financial aid to move abroad and to have all these great experiences. So I think that that's something that it would be hard for me to have said no if I knew then what I know now, which is great. And
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few different reasons that we've spoken about.
Exactly. I was going to ask you about timings as well. There's a difference in timings, right? Of like degrees being 4 years in the US. How does that work exactly?
So I would say that the degree programs in the US are generally more exploratory and last about 4 years or more, depending on, how quickly you go through the program. But in the UK, they're more focused on your specific subject and last about 3 years, with the option to do an additional placement year or, type of, if you want to extend your visa, which is something we've also talked about, you can stay longer. But moving through the full course in 3 years is really great and does also contribute toward the degree being more affordable.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's watching us today. I'm Mariana, and I'm here with Mary today talking about what it's like being a US student going to the UK. So comment any questions you might have below, because we're going to answer all of them. And don't forget, if you want to go and study in the UK, send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk or send us your details through okstudent.com/book a meeting. So Mary, I wanted to ask as well, this timing part, it also applies to masters, right? And postgraduate students.
Yes. So the master's programs in the US are generally about 2-year programs. And in the UK, it's also a little bit shorter, 1 year. So you can complete your full degree in 1 year. And if you would like, have the opportunity to complete a placement year as well.
Exactly, because those are really useful. And I always think that basically, I just want to explain a placement year is a year that students can take to actually go on an internship or be in work with a company. So you can find your own placement, or the university can find a placement for you. And this is really good because it just allows students to have an experience in a workplace for about 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or 12 months, depending on your course. So it's just really good for students who are coming from foreign countries, coming into the UK and want to work in the UK to kind of get the experience necessary to actually do that. Do you agree?
Yes, definitely. We've been talking a lot to different universities, international offices and admissions offices, and learning about everything they offer. And something that the schools all focus really strongly on is employability, the placement options and internship options. And that's something to me that's just really stands out. And if an American student is returning to the US or even decides to stay in the UK, having these types of opportunities on your resume or CV is really going to help you stand out among students with a similar background.
Exactly. I fully agree. And they have this thing called the post-study work visa, right? Which even increases these chances of students actually getting really good work experience. Do you want to explain a bit about that?
Yeah, so from what I'm understanding is that students will be able to stay in the UK for 2 years after graduation, to have the amount of time you need to really look for jobs and secure the right job for you. So this, to me, is something that's really great because you don't have to rush through the process and maybe take a job that you wouldn't necessarily love just to get your visa. You really have the 2 years to take your time and figure out what you want to do going forward.
Exactly. It's such a good scheme and it's applicable for any student from now on. So if you join for a master's in the UK, you can take your master's in 1 year, get a placement year as well, so you can work for 1 year and then get a visa that will increase that ability for 2 years. So you can actually stay here for 4 years while taking a master's of 1 year, which is a really good qualification. It's a fantastic way to get work experience in a different country, because I feel that even if you want to go back to your home country eventually, getting work experience in a different country is so important because it'll just make sure that you have an international CV that you can kind of use to apply to any job in the future.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think you're definitely going to stand out. Employers are really interested if you have studied abroad or if you have completed your full degree abroad and you have had these years of experience working with international people. They know that when you enter the workplace, it will be really smooth. You have the skills you need. And I just think it's a great way to stand out.
Exactly. I fully agree. So we have so many advantages here. So it's more affordable a lot of the time. It's much shorter. You can get visas for work placement as well, alongside your degree. What else did we talk about here?
Let's see. We've talked about the visas, English being the main language, which is very helpful for students.
Exactly. You won't have the huge cultural shock of going into a country that has a completely different language.
Right. And another thing is the universities are ranked really highly. So for students who are maybe nervous, will a certain degree from the UK look strong on my resume? Or maybe you're nervous that it won't be as strong as a degree from an American university. This is not true. The UK system is very strong. A lot of the top universities in the whole world are in the UK. So the degrees are just as competitive as they would be coming from the US, or even more.
Exactly. The UK has 4 universities in the world top 10 of the best universities. So it is a really good destination for everyone who's considering studying a new degree or considering going back into education or even just looking at their options. So don't forget, if you want to come and study in the UK, send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk or send us your details through okstudent.com/book a meeting. So we talked about a lot of the benefits of as an American student coming to the UK, but I think that when I went to the UK to study, I think what I actually constantly thought about, the fantasy in my head, was always of the American university. So I think that there's a very strong like pop culture association to the Greek system and freshers in the US and all of this sort of thing. And I don't know, like UK universities are so different from that and have so many other things. So I don't know, what do you think for you is like the difference of these two systems here?
Some of the students who I've been talking with this week, for example, when I ask what is drawing you to the UK and what's making you really interested, students are pointing out the history, that the universities are so comparatively, old, and the architecture is so beautiful, and just really getting a different perspective than you would in the US. I know that the culture in the US is to go to, school, usually your university there, and then study abroad for a semester or maybe a year in a different country. But I think it's important for Americans to be aware that that's only one option, because it's not something we talk about a lot, that you can actually fully move abroad and complete your degree fully abroad, take advantage of the financial aid packages that you have access to, and make these or have these international experiences, make international connections and friends. Whereas if you're doing maybe a semester abroad, it feels really rushed, and I think you miss out on a lot of opportunities.
I fully agree. I think that even just spending a year in a country is so little time. You don't really have the time to actually get to know the country. I mean, you were just talking about this when you said you've been in Austria for 3 years. And now it's when you're starting to actually feel like, okay, I'm okay here now. Right. It's what I felt in Cambridge as well, where I was in Cambridge for 3 years, and only on the second year it was like, oh, okay, I can understand the city. I know what I'm doing, everything. So it's really, really important that people have the chance to kind of explore these opportunities and explore these experiences without having that such a small time frame.
Right. And I mean, a semester is so short, because that's what I did in my undergrad, and it went by, I don't know, in a blink. And I people will still ask me questions about the city where I studied, and I can't even really answer them because it was just too quick. And I think really taking the time to settle in somewhere, become familiar, learn about the people, learn about the city and the country makes a big difference.
Exactly. You studied abroad in Spain, is that right?
Yes. So I did my part of my junior year in Madrid.
That's great. And how was that? Like, because it's also a completely different country, completely different culture. How was it?
I mean, I definitely loved that experience as well. We've talked about this, my first time abroad, and I was 20 years old. So it was culture shock really quickly, and something that definitely expanded, my comfort level, and was just a great experience, and something I wish I could have done longer, but it was just for one semester.
Yeah, but it's good. I always think that it's easier to move abroad when you've already done it. Yeah. So it's like doing your first experience, it's great, but then from that point onwards, it's going to unlock all of these possibilities that you have of moving elsewhere.
Definitely. And I think you just gain confidence too as a person. Like, okay, I've done this. It was challenging, but I did it, and I can do more. So I think that taking the first step for me was one thing, and then it led me to make these types of decisions in my life more as I continued on.
Perfect. So we actually have a question here from Baron asking, how did you cope with cultural shock?
Most recently, I would say in Austria, I had to just get outside of my bubble and make friends. I mean, talking to people who share your experience, especially international people, really makes a big difference. So I've been lucky to make friends here with people from all over the world, and some Americans, but people from everywhere. And we all just talk about, isn't this like trait kind of odd? And we'll all just agree on something and think it's funny and move along. But really just being able to talk to somebody and not be stuck in your head makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we actually had Baron here last week talking about the power of having friends when you're an international student or when you're an expat or an immigrant of some sort. And I think it's really such a huge difference that it makes in the lives of students, in the lives of so many people. I've been talking to students as well throughout this year. It has been really difficult for students because they haven't gotten a chance to actually see friends and meet new people. So it just makes the whole thing around cultural shock much more increased. And yeah, it's been difficult for a lot of people, but hopefully now from September onwards, we'll be able to meet our friends again, to see and meet new people.
Right. And this year, definitely being far away from home is challenging, but we're so lucky to have all the technology we do and to be able to just pick up the phone really quickly, FaceTime our families, FaceTime some friends. Like, it makes being far away from home not as hard, I think, as, it could have been. So
absolutely. And I also think that because this year was like this, it kind of became easier for people who are outside of their own countries, because suddenly everyone is on Zoom, everyone is on Skype using the same tools that we've used for years. So it's been really interesting to also see that and to see people who live abroad being a bit more accompanied by their friends and families who are living elsewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel lucky that I've been using some of these technologies for a while, so it wasn't so difficult to catch on quickly.
Exactly. So the solution to everyone watching us, the solution to cultural shock is get a lot of friends who can relate with your experience, basically. That relatability factor is all we're looking for.
Definitely. I watched Baron's live and I was nodding my head along thinking, yes, friends, international friends. This is like the answer.
Exactly. And it's friends from all cultures as well. I think that I've made a lot of Spanish friends in the UK because I think that the cultures are similar enough that we relate to a level of that. But it's also really important that you get friends from your own nationality to kind of do what you were talking about, where it's like, oh, don't you find this thing weird about this country that we all live in now? And do you remember how we did it when we were back in the States?
Right, exactly. And it's funny, I randomly have a couple friends from Los Angeles here that I've met here, which is just strange. And we talk a lot about, do you remember when we sat in the car for an hour to go to work? Or do you remember, do you remember when we paid X for rent? Like, it's just totally different here. But there's lots of things that are much better.
Exactly. I mean, it's always an adventure. As you were saying, it's an adventure to move abroad. And it's definitely an experience that I think everyone should do. So yeah, if you're a student looking to come and study in the UK, don't forget, send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk or send us your contact, your details. Send us your details through okstudent.com/book a meeting. I also mess this up every once in a while. Yay. So Mary, I have one last question for you. It's the packing question, as you know. What's the one thing that you wouldn't pack to take with you abroad?
Well, first of all, I overpack for everything. And even if I'm moving for like 3 months, I act like it's for 3 years. So I would say don't ever do that. Just really bring what you need. And coming from the US especially, be aware that the voltages are a little bit different when you plug in things. So like the first time I moved abroad, I brought my blow dryer, my straightener, all my stuff. And I go like right after my shower, plug it in, turn it on, and it just, high voltage freaked out and died. And I was like,
oh my God.
Why did I put all this stuff in my suitcase that I could have bought here and saved money on? But
oh my God, I'm so sorry.
It's fine. But I thought,
guys, get your adapters, basically. Get your adapters before you come to the UK.
Yeah, that's something I did not think about. I will say that I actually kind of did it again this time. I brought a nice record player, and had some issues with that. So just be really careful with your electronics.
Lucky, it's kind of lucky actually, because in the UK you have the free plugs with like the free things instead. So I've always kind of got away with that. But recently, I had a colleague who also worked in international student recruitment, and he would always plug in his normal European phone charger to the UK plugs without any sort of adapter. And eventually his phone died. Obviously, the battery exploded or something like that because he kept doing that all the time. And I was like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. And he was like, no, it's fine. I've been doing it forever. Yeah.
There's
don't
just
do
little,
that, guys.
Yeah, little things that you don't think of that if you talk to someone like a student advisor who really knows the experience, we'll be able to give you some tips on little things like that.
So tip number 1, check with your student advisor when you're packing. Do not pack your electronics. Take extra adapters always. I have about 20 UK adapters in my house because I keep losing them and then buying them again.
Yeah. The adapters are a big thing that I never knew about.
Man, there was this entire week that I was in Nottingham and I kept having to go and work in a cafe that I really liked. And each time I would get there, I would realize that I forgot my adapter at home and would have to buy another one from John Lewis. So this happened for about a full week. So it was 5 days of me buying adapters every single day. So now I have about 20. It's great.
You'll never run out.
Never run out. I'll just lose them and forget about them in the house again. I think that I made the same mistake, and I really relate to what you were saying about overpacking, because last time I moved to Nottingham for 3 months and I took this huge suitcase with everything and anything that I could need, and I just need to get better at packing. So guys, if you want a workshop on packing, I want a workshop on packing. Mary wants a workshop on packing. Let's make it happen. Somebody volunteer to teach us how to pack, because I don't know how.
I'm bringing 4 pairs of shoes and then only wearing my walking shoes forever. So yes, a packing workshop would be great.
Exactly. Mary, thank you so much for joining me today. This was a really nice conversation.
Thank you too, Mariana. This was great. And thanks, Baron, for your question.
Do you have any last words, any last comments?
No, I really encourage everyone to get outside of their bubble, to try something new. And this is a great way to do it. It's a great way to help, increase your international experiences, meet new people, and just get outside of your comfort zone, like we say at OK Student. So
exactly. Fantastic last words. Thank you so much, Mary. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched us today. And don't forget, if you want to come and study in the UK, send us an email at info@okstudent.co.uk, or send us your details through okstudent.com/book a meeting. If you don't want to come and study in the UK and you still want to follow us, don't forget to follow us on social media through @OK_student. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.